word revert? I feel like it separates you, kind of, because a lot of people say, oh, this person's a convert, mashallah, revert, mashallah, which it's good. But I feel like at the same time, it separates you. But anyway, it's another thing. So when I do talk about myself in Islam, I prefer to say that I accepted Islam. That's what I say. I accepted Islam. So I accepted Islam in 2013, the last 10 nights of Ramadan. It was actually August 2nd. And it was about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's been history ever since. So it's been 4 years. Well, this Ramadan, it will officially be 4 years since I have been Muslim, inshallah, inshallah. So I come from a Seventh-day Adventist background. A lot of people know what Seventh-day Adventists are. A lot don't. But a lot of people do say Seventh-day Adventists and Muslims are like this. They're very close as far as the practices go, as far as no alcohol, no fornication, no pork, and different things like that. Seventh-day Adventists worship from Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. Those are holy days, or more holy, the days for worship. And so when I began to learn about Islam, everything I heard, everything I would read immediately made sense to me. It clicked for me. And I grew up in the US, and where I'm from, there's a good amount of Somalis. So at the time, I was interacting with a lot of Somalis, or a lot of Muslims in general. So whenever they would speak about Islam, I agreed. There was nothing I didn't disagree with. And of course, at first, because you grew up one way, and then you're hearing another way, or you grew up in one religion and you're hearing another, you're a little defensive. But at the same time, I always believed everything they were saying. And also, I like to say that, which is true, Islam is the first religion that I've ever accepted. So even though I grew up as a Seventh-day Adventist, I was never baptized. Everyone in my family is baptized. And every time I would go to get baptized and take Bible study classes before I got baptized, I could never bring myself to take that last step. And so I decided in 2013 to fast 2 days before Ramadan began. I was actually in Canada visiting family, and I was listening to a Yasmin Mujahid lecture. This is when I started looking up Islam more, finding out, what does Islam mean? What is Islam alaikum? What do Muslims believe? Different things like that. What are the differences between Islam and Seventh-day Adventists or Christianity? And I don't remember the specific lecture, but it had she was talking about, she was tying into her book, Reclaim Your Heart, her book into her lecture. And something she said struck me. And so I told myself, I'm going to fast the entire month of Ramadan, which I did, alhamdulillah. And so at the time, my good friend, I would go to her house for iftar. Then we would go to the masjid for tarawih after. And it was seeing Islam in action, I guess you can say, seeing Muslims and how Muslims act and their beliefs and how peaceful they were and welcoming. That's what did it for me as well. So I would go to the masjid every night of Ramadan for tarawih. I learned how to pray because we would pray together. I would pray with my friend after iftar, and I would watch her motions, and then I would, follow that. And the same thing at the masjid. I would watch everyone's motions, and tarawih, you're doing so many rak'ahs. So I would follow everyone's actions, and that's how I learned how to pray. And it was, again, 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was with my friend at the time, and I asked her, I said, is the imam here? And she was like, yeah, they're here all the time. Why? And I was like, oh, no, I just want to know, because, everyone's always in and out the masjid all throughout the day. So I wasn't sure. And the imam at the time lived right next door to the masjid. And, one more thing. So that night as well, I was driving to the masjid, and I had the Quran playing in my car because I was listening. I wanted to memorize different surahs, and it just so happened to be on the Surat al-Qadr. And I was like, texting like, I think it's Laylatul Qadr, I think it's Laylatul Qadr. And so everyone like ran to the masjid. And so it was that night, even though I still feel like that night was Laylatul Qadr, inshallah. But yeah, so she was like, oh, let's go in the imam's office. Do you want to go? And I was a little hesitant. I was like, no, because at this time, I believed in Islam, but I was going, I guess, back and forth with myself, as is this the truth? And so I didn't have intentions of taking Shahada that night. Like, I knew in my heart it was the truth, but it was a mental thing, you know, growing up one way for so long. And I didn't have intentions of taking Shahada this night. But then somehow I ended up agreeing to go to the imam's office. And the imam wasn't there, but there were like 4 or 5 other brothers there. And so I started telling them my experiences and what I believed. And they called the imam, and he walked over. And next thing you know, I ended up taking Shahada. And it was definitely a surreal experience for me. And that night, that morning when I went home after Fajr, I laid down, and then I felt like my old soul lifted up out of me, and like a new soul was breathed into me. And I felt like I was floating at the time. And it's been that way ever since. There have definitely been, it's definitely been a journey. It's definitely been an experience. Because everything about your life changes, but at the same time, everything stays the same. And it's just been different experiences and challenges with my personal life in terms of family and my social life. But it hasn't been such a challenge, but at the same time, I guess it depends on certain topics, which brings out the truth or people's true feelings or how they feel at the time, which becomes a challenge. But I definitely love it, and I love the hijab, and the hijab is like my form of dawah. So anytime anyone asks me about Islam, it's really because of, you know, they see the hijab and then they want to know. And so I moved to Miami about 3 or 4 months after I accepted Islam, and it seems like there Islam is not as big as other places. So I was always being asked questions, and I love to answer questions about Islam and give my experience. I can't speak for anyone else, but I love giving my experience, my perspective, and again, it's my form of dawah, so I have no problem doing that, and I love it, and I love being that billboard for Islam, I guess you can say. So I just want to go ahead and kick off my channel and go back and forth and share my experiences with you. And if you have any questions or any comments, please share that with me, share your experiences with me, and hopefully we can go back and forth. So this year I decided to take a year off because I was going to school full-time, I was working full-time, I was volunteering full-time, and I just wanted this year, 2017, to be a year for me, to have all my time so I can venture off into different things that when your schedule is so full that they fall by the wayside. So I really wanted to dedicate my time to more spiritual growth, travel.